Look, it's candy wrapped in tulle. Guys, today I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to have the fabulous wedding you want on a realistic budget. Keep watching. Hey guys, it's Kimberly Michelle and you're watching Life with Kimberly Michelle. So welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I hope that you'll go ahead and click that subscribe button. I post videos weekly on lifestyle, beauty tips, product reviews, and more. But this is a video from my wedding series, so it's going to be all about how to have the perfect wedding you want, but on a realistic budget. So let's get right into the video. So the topics we're going to discuss are setting a realistic budget. Then we're going to talk about the items you must have and some that maybe you can cut out. Then from there, we'll get into some of the areas where you can cut costs on the must-have items. Okay, the first thing you want to do when you're having a wedding, of course, is to set a budget. But let's set a realistic budget, because when I first set my budget, it was $5,000. I quickly realized that there was no way I was going to be able to have the wedding that I wanted on that $5,000 budget. So you want to do some research about the things that you want, the type of wedding you want, and then set your realistic budget from there. Now, speaking of setting a budget, everything I read said to set a budget, stick to it. But with going in blindly, and most of us have never been married before, never planned a wedding before, you don't really know a general idea of how much these things are going to cost. So you start looking at stuff, adding stuff, venues, and you're like, well, man, the budget I set is just probably not going to work. So then you start feeling like, oh, I can't have the wedding I want, or let's just elope. You know I went through that too. I'm like, oh, just forget it. Let's just, just get married at the justice of the peace or something like that. So, but you don't have to do that. There's a way. So what worked for me was I could not set a budget and then go from there. I wrote down everything I wanted, my realistic wedding, not my dream wedding, well, kind of my dream wedding, but realistically, and then I subtracted from there. So I got the cost of everything, the approximate cost, I saw how much it was gonna cost, and then I knew how much money I had to spend or was willing to spend. So then I start subtracting things, and that's where the must-haves and the things you can do without come in. Now, typically your venue and food are going to cost approximately 40 to 50% of your budget. So you have to keep in mind that that leaves about 50% to do everything else you have to do.
So you have to get a dress, you have to get tuxes, you have to hire a photographer, you have to buy undergarments, get your hair done.
All of that stuff, if you're putting all that in your budget, if you're spending 40 to 50% on the venue, then you only have 50 to 60% left for that. And those items can add up fast, trust me. So with that said, you want to identify your must-have items, what you're not going to skimp on, and then things that you necessarily don't have to have. So like for me, my must-have item was my photographer. I did not want to skimp on my photographer. I wanted a certain photographer and I didn't care what it cost. I wanted that photographer, and everything else was going to have to fall in place around that. So you may have something like, maybe it's your dress. You want a certain dress and you have to have that dress. So you have to start there, and then some other things might have to be taken out if that's your must-have item. Like for example, I really wanted uplighting around the room, and I wanted our initials or our name, shining down on the dance floor. So I wanted that, but then at the end of the day, I was like, well, this is something I can cut out. So that was an expense that I decided to cut out. Now, once you've decided on what you're gonna keep and what you're gonna ditch, you wanna try to cut cost on those items that you're gonna keep. So let's get into some of the ways you can cut cost on the items that you absolutely have to have in your wedding. Let's start with the dress. So as we all know, dresses are expensive. One of the things that I considered doing was buying a pre-owned dress. There are several websites out there where people are selling their used wedding dress, or where stores are selling old samples that have been sitting in their store and they want to move them out for new inventory. So those dresses, they actually haven't been pre-owned, but they're at sale for a discount. So I'll list the sites below to the ones that I know of, but some of them are preownedweddingdresses.com. There's oneswed.com. Tradeasy is another site where you can look for used wedding dresses. And there's one more. I think it's called stillwhite.com, but I'll leave those in a link below. Also, there's a store called Glamour Closet. So this is a store where they sell nothing but sample wedding dresses. They get them from retailers for whatever reason they don't want them anymore or whatever, but they have a whole store just full of sample dresses that you can go in and browse through, try on, and purchase them. The only thing is there are only 4 locations in the U.S. There's one in Chicago, New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. So if you're in any of those 4 areas, you can pop in and take a look at their sample dresses. The other thing is they only have the standard sample sizes. So I think the website said that they have sizes 8 and 10 typically. So if you're anywhere around those sizes, you maybe can get the dress altered, because I think a wedding dress can be altered 2 sizes down and maybe 1 size up. So that's the drawback of them. They're only in a few cities and they only have a couple sizes available. Okay, next are your tuxedos for the guys. So you can go the normal route of renting one from Men's Warehouse or something like that, which those are not terribly expensive. Depending on the kind you want, they can go up. But we found a website called National Tuxedo Rental where you could rent the tuxedos online. All you do is go on there, fill out your information as far as your measurements and all of that, and they give you instructions on how to take your measurements, and then you put your tuxedo package together, and they start at, I think it was $69. They start at $69 and go up from there. So depending on how fancy you get, they can be more, but I don't think they have anything for over like $90 or $90 to $100 once you put the package together. My husband, his whole thing came out to 80 something dollars, and he didn't get the shoes. They also have shoes where you can rent the shoes, but he chose to purchase his own shoes because you know, the selection was really limited to the shoes that they had on there. But the tuxedo was really nice. And the other thing about them is they had the chocolate brown. I wanted the guys to be in chocolate brown, but I couldn't find that at Men's Warehouse. You had to purchase the tux if you wanted it in that color. So locally, I couldn't find anywhere where they would rent the chocolate brown tuxedo. So that's why we went this route of renting online. And it was very streamlined. They mail the tuxedo out to you about 7 to 10 days before the event. And then if something doesn't fit, you have time to send it back to them, and then they send you out another item that fits. Okay, next is going to be your invitations and save the dates. All right, so we know this can get very expensive with these invitations. Let's first start on save the dates. So the options that you have for save the dates are you can email them. That's a way you can cut costs. Or you can just cut them out altogether. We decided to cut them out altogether. Now, mind you, one of the reasons we decided to do that is because we waited kind of late to send them, and we were like, what's the point now? We're getting married in like 4 months, so, you know, just forget it. So what we did was we didn't email them to everybody, but we gave everyone the link to our wedding website. So we sent the link to our wedding website out to everyone, either by text or through Facebook or whatever we thought the best way to communicate with them was. And everything was there. All of our information was on the wedding website for the date, the venue, all types of, I made a page for my frequently asked questions. So everything was there on the website. So we just opted not to do the save the dates. But if you really do want to do save the dates and you want some non-expensive ones that you can mail out, you can try either your local office supply like an Office Depot or something like that. And you can also try Vistaprint. I didn't think about Vistaprint for invitations and save the dates, but they have them on there as well, and they're cheaper than ordering them from the standard wedding invitation companies. And speaking of wedding websites, do not pay for a wedding website, or pay for hosting with your own domain for a wedding website. I mean, if you do want your own domain, I guess you can do that, but we just opted to go with Wedding Wire. All of the wedding sites like the Knot, Wedding Wire, and the others out there, they will provide hosting for you for your wedding website, and they're really nice because they have the templates you can choose from. They're easy to build, and you can put so much information on there, and they really look nice. Now granted, it won't say yourname.com, it'll say weddingwire /yourname.com. So, but you know what, I didn't really care about that, and I don't think it really matters because you're only going to be using this information for maybe up to a year at the most, because you're going to put your engagement photos on there, then you're going to put your wedding pictures after. So I think just my advice is do not pay. I know some people have paid for hosting for an actual and built an actual website, and I just thought that, I was like, no, you don't have to do that, just go to Wedding Wire. So yeah. Okay, invitations. Now for invitations, you can either do them yourself. You can, if you're crafty, there's lots of tutorials out there on how to craft your own wedding invitations. Or you can do Vistaprint. They have wedding invitations as well. Or again, your local office supply. These are all places that are cheaper than, let's say, Wedding Paper Divas or any of those other wedding sites. Although Wedding Paper Divas always have a sale like 20 to 40% off. So at least you get that discount, but they're still very expensive. Now I opted to DIY. I really wanted my cards handmade because I'm crafty, and that's just something I really wanted. So my sister is more crafty with card making, so I knew that she could help me out with that. So I opted to go the DIY route. Let me tell you, this is not necessarily the cheapest route though, because by the time you buy paper and whatever else you want to do, you could probably just go to Wedding Paper Divas and get them that way. But so that's just to say the DIY route can be cheaper, but it's not always necessarily the cheapest route. And I will try to insert a photo of my wedding invitations here so everyone can see them. But this is just the idea I had in my head, and it's what I wanted for my wedding invitations. So I decided that's the route that I was going to go. Okay, next is your videographer. All right, I was not aware of how much a videographer was going to cost. I think initially I budgeted like $200 for the videographer. Yeah, right. Okay. So that did not work out at all, that budget. But I came across a site called Vanilla Video. And the unique thing about Vanilla Video is that they allow you to book them by the hour. So you don't have to buy a full day's package. Let's say your venue for your reception and your ceremony are in two different places, and in between you guys are going downtown to take pictures or something, so there's like an hour to 2 hour lapse in between your your ceremony and your reception. You can book them separately for the ceremony, and then hours later you can book them for the reception. But I believe it has to be a 3 hour gap in order to do it that way. Don't quote me on that. Check them out on their website. But we just went ahead and booked them for 8 hours. Either way, they're much cheaper than any other company that I researched and looked into. They were like half the cost. So check them out, Vanilla Video. It turned out so good. I wasn't expecting a lot because they're a national company, and they just send you some random person. You don't even get to meet the person. You don't even know their name before they get there. So I really wasn't expecting a lot. I was just hoping we get our ceremony and everything on video. So those are my only expectations. But when I tell you they really exceeded my expectations, the guy that they sent, he was so good. I mean, it was just one guy because we had a smaller wedding. You can get more than one guy to come or more than one person to come. But he was Johnny on the spot. Like every time I looked around, he was like, I got it, I got it, I got it, I got it. He captured everything. I mean, he was so good. And then, he got my getting ready. He did the ceremony. I mean, they were great. So thumbs up to Vanilla Video. If you're looking for a cheaper way to capture your video, I would say go with them. Okay, another option for videography that is much cheaper is a site called Wedded. Now, this is a site where they will send you out about 5 HD cameras and you hand them out to your guests to capture your wedding. I was not too crazy about this idea because I just did not want to leave that in the hands of my wedding guests. And plus, I didn't want to put them to work, but basically, I didn't want to leave it in their hands. But I mean, if this is something that you are okay with, this can be another cheaper option. So they send the video recorders out to you. You take the video, you send them back, they upload all of the footage, and then you go download it and you have your video. So check them out. That's wedded.com. Okay, now we want to talk about your ceremony and reception decor. This is where my budget started to get a little out of hand because I wanted these great decorations, and some of them, they look simple, but they were expensive. So some ways that you can cut costs on that. One is for your ceremony decorations, you want to simplify that down as much as possible. The ceremony decorations, make them elegant but simple. So what I did was, I mean, I wanted all this stuff down the aisle and I wanted stuff up at the altar. And at the end of the day, I decided to have 2 pillars at the altar with the flower arrangement. And then I had my runner with rose petals on the side. So that was that. Try to have ceremony decorations that can transfer over to your reception because you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So my 2 flower arrangements that were on the pillars at the altar, those were also 2 of the centerpieces for the reception. So I had my coordinator, before everyone entered the reception room, I had her go grab those 2 pieces and place them on the 2 tables that they went to in my reception. The other thing you can do is ask your venue or check with your venue even before you book them. Maybe this might, deter you one way or the other from booking. If they have decorations you can use. I did not know this, but my venue had decorations that I can use, and they had a lot of them. Technically, if I just wanted to use only their decorations, I could have. But of course, I wanted my own special touch. So I ended up using some of their decor, and then I use some of my own decor. So yeah, check with your venue, see if they have anything, any type of centerpieces or vases or anything that you can use to maybe help you cut cost on your decorations. The other thing is check out Dollar Tree. Maybe not the store, but online. Dollar Tree has a lot of stuff that you can use for weddings, and it doesn't look cheap. You can make it look elegant. I'll show you here some of the vases that I used and tea light holders that I used for my wedding, and these all came from Dollar Tree. And because I needed so many, I couldn't go in the store and buy them, but what I did do is I went in the store and I bought a couple of them just to see, the quality and what they look like, and I put, my little sample together. And then when I said, okay, this will work, I went on their website and I purchased them in bulk. They still cost the same, it's $1 each, but you can, have them shipped and delivered in boxes and everything, and you can even pick them up from the store. So, but the thing is, some of the quantities on their website, they have minimum quantity purchases. So like for the tea lights I bought, I think the minimum quantity was 24. You had to buy at least 24 of those. But it worked out really great. Amazon is another resource. Check Amazon. I just love Amazon. Amazon for everything. But I got my rose petals from Amazon. I was like, I can't believe how much people wanted for those rose petals. It's just anything you say wedding, they just stamp 2 more zeros on the back of it, I swear. But yeah, I got my rose petals from Amazon. So check Amazon for some of the decorations that you would like. Another site that I believe it was called eFavor or something like that. I'll flash it here. But that was a good resource too. I think I got my knife set from there for like $6, and then I decorated it with the bow and all of that. So yeah, that was another good website that I used for some of my decorations. And I'll do a separate video getting more into how I decorated, because I did everything myself as far as the decorations go. So I'll do a separate video on that. Okay, next up is wedding favors. So you guys may not like what I say on wedding favors, because my tip to save money on wedding favors is to just not have wedding favors. So yeah, I decided I don't need these things. Like, what are they for? Like, why do we have these? And usually the wedding favors, people either leave them on the table because they forget them, or they take them home and they throw them away. So why spend all that money for something that nobody really cares about? And I know one time I was at a wedding and I really did want my favor because it was a nice wine glass, but I forgot it, so I left it on the table. The other thing you can do, which is kind of what I did but not on purpose, you can have something that doubles. You can have your escort card double as your wedding favor, because you're going to need escort cards, but not necessarily, because you could get, you know, the poster with the names. But if you're going to have escort cards, have them double as your favors. So I'll flash a photo of my escort card. So what I did was, we had the Ferrero Rocher candies, and we used toothpicks to stick everyone's name in them. So that little Ferrero Rocher candy was their party favorite. Okay, now, photo booth. Everyone wants a photo booth, and they are so fun at weddings. I did decide to kick this out of my wedding budget. I did want a photo booth, but at the end of the day, I just scrapped it because, you know, we're trying to cut costs here. And a lot of the people at my wedding were older people, so I didn't think they would enjoy, they might have enjoyed the photo booth, but I didn't think they would care about the photo booth too much. So, and then I needed to cut costs somewhere else, so I just said, let's scrap the photo booth. However, there are ways you can do photo booths for cheaper. Now, photo booths can run you anywhere from $500 up to $1,000, depending on what you get and who you get. But you can do Groupon. Groupon always has a sale on a photo booth. So if you know your wedding is coming up and you need a photo booth, book it now, and I'm sure you can find something for like $200 for maybe 2 to 4 hours. And you don't need it the whole night. You know, depending on your crowd, you could probably get it for 2 hours, but if you have a bigger wedding, maybe you want 4 hours. And if you have people that you know are going to be in the photo booth all night, you want to book it for at least 4 hours. Now, the other option that you can do for a photo booth, and I got this from my brother-in-law, he did it for my sister's 50th birthday party. There is an app for the iPhone or iPad where you can set up a photo booth. So you get the app, download it, you get a printer where you can print out the photos, and you just you either buy a backdrop, or in my sister's case, there was a brick wall in her venue, so we just used that for the backdrop. We didn't even buy a backdrop, so they used a printer that they already had at home. She went and bought photo paper in 4x6 to print on her portable printer. She didn't even buy specialty, you know, printer paper. It was just the 4x6, and it printed the photos out in strips, and then you can just trim the sides and you have the photo booth strips. Or you can, you know, you don't have to trim the sides at the wedding. You can give them to your guests and they can trim them, or you can have someone manning the station and they can go ahead and trim them while your guests wait. But yeah, they came out really nice, and that was something I was thinking about doing for my wedding, but then I was like, well, I just don't even feel like dealing with that because I have so much other things to do. I just decided to scrap the photo booth altogether. But that is an option, the do-it-yourself photo booth, so look into that. Okay, now to save money on your venue, there's several things you can do. One, you might want to opt for, instead of dinner, a cocktail reception where they're just going to serve hors d'oeuvres, or maybe do a brunch if that's an option for you. If you can have your wedding more during the day, you can do a brunch. Both of these options are cheaper on the food, so the venue for you may be cheaper if you do it that way. In my searching for venues, I found that buffet was no cheaper than a sit-down dinner. Actually, in some cases, it was more expensive because they have to set out more food. So when I was searching around, the plated dinner was always cheaper than buffet. So I wouldn't consider a buffet unless you want that, or if you find something that's within your price range. And if you can't, always search for something that's all inclusive. I know that in my search, I searched for everything. I searched for empty places where I had to bring in tables, chairs, and linen, and then I searched for all-inclusive places. Always try to go all-inclusive. Don't try to get somewhere where you have to bring in chairs or you have to bring in table linen or something like that. That's always going to cost you more money in the long run. It's best just to find a venue that's going to have all that stuff ready for you, and you just pay them one flat fee and be done with it. Okay, and the last tip I have for you guys today to save money on your wedding is your wedding officiant. So depending on who you get, wedding officiants can cost you upwards of $300 and up, depending on who you get. So what you could do is have a friend or family member do your wedding. I didn't know that in most states, almost anyone can get ordained to officiate over a wedding. So Google that, check it out in your state. You want to do it well in advance of your wedding, and have a close friend or family member go ahead and officiate over your wedding. It might be more memorable to you that way anyway, because you're having someone, a loved one, do the ceremony for you. So if that's something that you don't mind, that's a way that you can save money on paying for an officiant. And you can probably just give your friend a gift to say how much you appreciate them officiating your wedding for you. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for this video. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos in my wedding series, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.